Welcome to Supplier Spot Spotlight, the podcast where we shine a light on the RV, park, and campground outdoor hospitality industry. Join us as we chat with suppliers, park owners, and staff, uncovering insights, strategies, and stories that will elevate your outdoor experience. Get ready for inspiration and innovation in every episode.
Here we are again, another episode of Supplier Spot Spotlight Podcast. And I have Irene Jones here with me today with Marshall+Sterling. Irene, thank you for being on the podcast with me today.
Hey, great to be here, Bobby.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on here to talk about Marshall+Sterling and get a little bit more information about insurance and everything you do to help out the RV parks and campgrounds in the industry when it comes to insurance and any other aspects that Marshall+Sterling does. But before we get into that, I wanted to get your thoughts and feedback about Supplier Spot, because I got you on Supplier Spot. I think we spoke maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I can't remember exactly, but we spoke a little bit and I kind of explained my concept to you about it. So I'd just like to get your thoughts and feedback about it right now.
I think what's great about Supplier Spot is that, the park owners that are out there, whether you're a veteran park owner or someone who's just getting into the industry, it's a central place to get a lot of good information, whether it's, a vendor that you need or information about a trade show or resources. Listen, anymore, the world is local and we want information at our fingertips, but our industry is very specific. So you've gone through the trouble to kind of gather everything together and really create an online community. So it's something that new owners, experienced owners, parks, glamping operations of all shapes and sizes can get involved with. So really accessible and will move us forward.
Great. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It was almost like I coached you through that. And I didn't, so everybody knows I didn't coach her. So thank you for that. But yeah, that was my whole point with Supplier Spot, is just to build a website for a one-stop spot location online where suppliers and campground owners, association executive directors, everybody can go and post their information on there and have a little spot to, if people want to, like you said, especially for first-time RV park owners, they can go there and search for whatever they're looking for, materials, supplies, or just services for their park. And then it'll pop somebody up, they can contact them. I'm actually taking it a step further with the rebuild of the new site where any supplier or even a park owner who wants to sell items, they can have their own store right through Supplier Spot. So really great aspect. It's kind of like almost integrating a Shopify type system or an Etsy type system right into Supplier Spot. So that's what I'm working on right now with the developers. So as I mentioned to you earlier before we started recording, I just switched over from the old servers from the old platform on this past Sunday to the new servers. And I did have a coming soon page on there, but I really don't like how that looks. And the website is functioning right now. I just don't have it set up yet where everybody's getting into the categories right when they sign up. But that's what me and my developers working on. So I just want to have the site live so people can still go to the conference and trade shows page, and, these spotlight podcasts are going to be on there. So just letting you know and letting everybody out there that's watching that I will continue to work on this site to make it one of the best sites possible. So thanks again for putting Marshall+Sterling on there.
Thank you. No, it's our pleasure. And, I know that these park owners wear a lot of hats. So having the ability to find a lot of information, and I think the peer-to-peer aspect of it is pretty cool. I think I can see a lot of park owners using that. So
great.
Cool.
That's the whole goal. Just make a one-stop spot. So, well, now a good segue. Let's talk about Marshall+Sterling. So I'm looking at your website right now. I'll bring it up here while you start talking. Tell me about it, how to get started. And I know, I think you said earlier before we started recording, it was 250 years old or something like that. So I'd love to hear the history about it and talk about everything you do for park owners.
Yeah. So, I think what's important about that with park owners is really solid company, right? Founded before the Civil War. We're from upstate New York. As you can see in the background here, lots of camping around this area. So it was really natural for us to get involved in the outdoor hospitality industry, camping, glamping. We had a wonderful professional who had a canoe livery in a campground who was on staff at our agency, who helped found this program with me about 10 or 15 years ago. I had come from the children's camp industry, so really outdoors oriented group of professionals, and we've built an amazing team to serve the campground community. I think what's important about insurance and insurance protection for park owners is it really is a key element of your business. So whether you're opening a glamping resort or you've bought your 10th campground, insurance is something that you need when you're taking debt. You need when you have investors. You need to protect your own investment. And so it becomes essential for you to get started. And it's an essential part of your risk protection of taking that business risk, investing all that money. You need to be protected if someone files a lawsuit against you. That's general liability insurance. You need to be protected if a building burns to the ground, or a hurricane comes through and blows it away. That's property insurance. Or if the waters rise and flood your building, that's flood insurance. So there's a lot of aspects that go into it. And at Marshall+Sterling, we have an in-depth understanding of the outdoor hospitality industry and also all the relationships with the insurers in order to help our clients get matched to the best possible insurance. I do want to say that I know it's extremely stressful for the consumer out there. Bobby, I was telling you this story about, I was on a phone call the other day and we talked to somebody and they were trying to go to closing and they had been talking with some local agents and even some specialists for like 6 months and really getting nowhere on their insurance. It was like, fill out a form, flip it around. Oh, I'm just getting rejections. I know we don't really understand what you're doing, or you don't have enough experience to do this. What we really want to do to work with the consumer is to partner with you in what you're doing at your park and help you be proactive about getting coverage. And that means taking a mindset of, okay, how can we best position your park to have the resources for safety, to be proactive, to not have a claim, and also to show off that safety mindset that you're partnering with us on to the underwriters so that you can qualify for insurance? How can we show off your experience? How can we work with you? And a lot of it is really just partnership and positioning. So I think that in this day and age, there used to be a mentality of like, well, you got to just shop. You got to call the. No, you really probably don't just have to shop. It's a little bit more involved than that. It's about, we've got businesses that are involved with people, outdoors, families, all those things that could possibly happen. And the way that the courts today are delivering large verdicts against all businesses affects campgrounds. We're seeing claims that people tripping and falling, walking to a bathhouse, twisting an ankle. Okay, that like 10 years ago, that was like a $10,000 claim. Now it's a $250,000 claim. We got to get out ahead of that stuff. And you don't want that happening at your park. So it's about this whole, our philosophy has always been to be like, how can you secure your success? And you've got to be preemptive and proactive. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I see right here on your website, your vision and your mission. You just said that, empowering the clients to predict, prepare for, and preempt risk so they can focus on what matters to them. So yeah, that's a great point. And, I've had several businesses in my life. Like I have a DJ business here in Colorado Springs, and I have to carry my own liability insurance. And many of the venues that I go to DJ, they will not let a DJ come in there unless they have liability insurance because, people could trip over one of my cords. Or I used to have these old tripod type speaker holders and they trip over the leg. I've since changed my system out. But things like that, I've had them try to sue the venue because they tripped over something. But I tell the venue, you don't have to worry about it. I have my own liability insurance. I'll work with them on it. And that's just a peace of mind for the venue. So, be preemptive like you're talking about. I think it's great for peace of mind for the park owners to know that people like you have already seen so many of these claims come through that you already know the process and what you can do to help prevent anything from happening. So I think that's great.
I think one of the things that is interesting to understand about our industry is that not all insurance carriers want to be involved in it. So if there's, 1,000 insurance companies, the ones who actually, the paper that the policies are written on, that large brokerages like Marshall+Sterling, we have a relationship with all these companies. Of those tens and tens and tens and hundreds of companies, there's probably just a couple dozen that would look at RV parks. And of those couple dozen, there's probably half of those that are preferred carriers. And the more preferred you get, the pickier they are. This one doesn't want a park with a slide. This one doesn't want, a park with a brand new owner. So understanding that and having the relationships and how to position that and how to partner, I think is a big part of it. And a lot of times when I'm talking to park owners, I'm going to take this as like an opportunity to clarify a few things.
Oh yeah,
Definitely
definitely.
start
That's what this is all
early.
about.
Like people will be like, "Oh, can I have a quote? Because my insurance expires on Tuesday." And I got to tell you, our team, and we have a team of several salespeople. We have several service teams, a claims team, marketing teams, all working together. There's no way you can meet that type of deadline. You want to start talking about insurance very early. Once you start to get a contract on a property, once you start building plans, if you're making building plans, so that you can think about what's going on with the construction. A lot of times I'll tell people, they'll be like, I just renewed. I'm like, that's the best time to talk about it. Let's talk about it when there's no stress. Let's talk about what your business goals are and how you're going to incorporate safety and risk management and insurance into your business goals. Because what I'm hearing now from people is the cost of insurance is impacting profitability.
Yeah.
Are you getting a lot of feedback and seeing complaints about that online as well, Bobby?
Yeah. I definitely, again, I was talking to you earlier before we came on. I'm in a lot of the Facebook groups that are out there for RV park owners and things. And yeah, there's a lot of them are like, wow, our insurance is it's incredible. I mean, and I think it's more than just parks alone. As we all know, everything's increased. Like our insurance increased. Our 16-year-old son started driving. So now, when it comes to these RV parks, yeah, they're missing out on profitability because not just insurance. A lot of things are increasing, but insurance is a big one that I hear about. And I told you earlier, I'm referring people over to you like, hey, talk to Irene. She'll be able to help you out and talk to you.
I appreciate that. And I think the difference is, and one of the things that we have as our program, we have all these specialists, right? And we have all these carriers as well that we can connect you with. But another big part of it is that we have a huge library of resources that we've developed over a decade that our policyholders can access to be proactive about risk. So things like sample waivers, things like best practices on renting canoes and kayaks, or safety standards for, even having dogs come and camp with you. Some of the common things that we see, best practices for golf carts. We see claims in all of those areas all the time. And so we've got a whole library of resources. And if you start to use those resources, even things like the way that we help clients handle incidents and talk through them and have the incident reports so that things are documented, having a team of people to support you. Should I put in a claim? Should I not put in a claim? Hey, let's get on a conference call with the claims person from Marshall+Sterling before we go potentially to a carrier. Let's make a wise decision together. Those types of things can really help keep insurance costs down over time.
Yeah.
If you've got to play the card that you have, because these, as you mentioned, Bobby, like these insurance markets aren't going to be getting any better. If you look in the news, you're hearing major companies like State Farm and Allstate pulling out of states or reducing capacity that they're writing. So what you want to do with your business now is put yourself in the best possible position to think about insurance, not just as like something that you're shopping for, but as, what is the coverage doing for me? How can I make this a part of my business? How can I sort of leverage that cost that I'm paying to get other resources for safety? And how can those safety resources help me keep my costs down over time? That's the big difference that we're offering at Marshall+Sterling. And, of course, if you have a really large organization, you're going to qualify for some advanced resources where I can bring in my corporate, risk management department and have them do on-site training. But even if you're a mom and pop operation, we have amazing resources that you can use from the library that if you just put them in place would give you like a huge advantage. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's that's really kind of what I would say is our ideal client is like the engaged campground owner, um, the engaged organization, and especially I'm seeing people who are have plans to have multiple locations. Okay, how do you scale best practices? How do you how do you go to your own next level and keep a safety culture and develop a safety culture? So,
Yeah.
those things come together to really support your business. And it's not a black. I think the other thing I want to say too is like insurance is not black and white. Like you can't
No.
just be like, hey, here's what I had last time, can you give me a quote? Like there's a lot of questions that go into
Yeah.
it. So take time, start early,
Hmm.
think about it as like a key part of your business, and think about it in terms of risk and taking risk wisely, and empowering yourself.
Yeah. This is great. And as you've been talking, I'm not sure. I know you're in your backyard, which I love that background. That's so awesome. And we talked a little bit about. I was looking on your resources here while you were talking. I'm not sure if you can actually see me scrolling your website on your phone or not.
Yeah.
It might be small. So yeah. So what I love about all this stuff is how much resources you actually have. Like these videos. I mean, there's just so much cool stuff in here that people can go on and watch. I was looking here at what was I looking at? Tools and resources. This right here is a great one, I think. Catastrophe and disaster planning. Because as we were talking before we started recording, I live in Colorado Springs and we back up to Black Forest. And in
Mm.
2013, no, yeah, 13, we had a huge fire that happened. So this is great to have disaster planning because I go out to our backyard and make sure I do fire mitigation, and our insurance company knows that. So I let them know, hey, I've done this fire mitigation, and they actually give us a little bit of a discount on that. So, park owners, if they can show that they're doing mitigation where they're, getting rid of the pine needles and breaking off the dead tree branches, things like that, it's helpful for insurance companies. Is that safe to assume?
100%. And we're unlike homeowners, it's not as much of a black and white discount.
Mhm.
But what happens is the more that you're doing, like for the example with like fire mitigation, that's going to help you to qualify for more preferred carriers.
Okay.
And when you can qualify for a preferred carrier, you're going to get better rates and broader coverage. So that's what the goal is. And I've got to tell you, you're just seeing the front side of the web page.
Yeah.
We have, when campground owners and outdoor hospitality and glamping operations sign up, they get access to a client toolkit, but we give you the outdoor hospitality version. So you get
Mhm.
access to our whole library of resources that we have, that is very campground specific. And then we have an entire video series up on YouTube, which you can look under the Marshall+Sterling page. And just if you're looking to buy a park, a lot of people will just go through all of these videos and watch them because we go through all these topics. They're 2-3 minute videos that we've shot over a long period of time on the Marshall+Sterling insurance YouTube page. There's just a playlist for campground, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of resources that's all open source. So, I want to encourage everyone to, as an industry, it's really important for us, all of us, to embrace safety in our operations,
Yeah.
to assess, and for you guys, I know you're in Colorado, Bobby, so fire
Yep.
safety is important. If you're
Mhm.
in on the Gulf Coast, have a hurricane plan. Um,
Yep.
if you're build as much as you can to deal with the environmental and weather issues in your area. Put in
Mhm.
safety best practices, and hold your other park owners accountable for it. I think when you go on Supplier Spot and you look up and you go, okay, I'm going to go to these conferences this year. Okay, go to the conferences. Ask the other people who were there. What are you doing for
Yeah.
safety? I think we've come to a point in our industry where we need to demand that this is important, because what happens is, if you really want to affect insurance, try to improve the safety culture, because the
Mhm.
insurance companies look at your individual park, at your individual glamping organization. They also look at the industry and how seriously we are looking at safety. So
Yep.
I really want to encourage everyone. I think there's a lot that we can do as individuals.
Yeah. Exactly. And
Oh,
you
look at
mentioned the
that.
conference and trade shows. What's that?
You've got it. You've got your website coming back up.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
green
So
screen.
yeah,
I
it's
love
right
it.
now. Well, you can see right now, I'm actually in the editing mode because I'm adding this to the top of it.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, I have the coming soon page. I want to get rid of that because it is active. But as I mentioned, I'm working with the developer because I want to have it live because I put right here we revamped it. So keep in mind that we're working on this. But as you mentioned, conferences and trade shows, I actually worked on this week, created a brand new type of calendar event, and people will actually be able to go on and create their own events for upcoming stuff within the industry. And of course, I approve everything before it goes live. But yeah, so it's great for these upcoming shows that people can go on. And like the next big show I think that's coming up is I think a lot of people are talking about the glamping show, and I had David Course on here a few weeks back talking about it. So great for them to come on here, then click on it and get some more information. And they can see exactly where it's going to be, and then right here they can click on this link and it'll take them right over to their I hit stop sharing. I didn't mean to hit stop sharing. I need a view tab. Here we go. I hate when I do that. So
Yeah, but if you're out at the glamping show, stop by and see myself and my colleague Dylan
oh
Fontaine. We'll be out there. We'll be at Campground
yeah,
in New York. We'll be at Ojai. So I mean, but
great. Well, I'll
you
be
know,
at the climbing show too, so I'll get to see you.
absolutely, we'll all and we'll all get together. And this is like our community. And I think that even looking at Supplier Spot and emailing some people and saying, "Hey, are you going to be at Ojai? Are you going to be at the
Yeah,
glamping show? Can we meet up there?"
yeah,
That's a great thing to do, and
yeah.
it makes your time there so much more productive to do a little bit of planning like that.
Mhm.
Um, I found over time. So great tip for any park owners out there, just to kind of plan ahead.
Yeah, and the great thing about it, as I mentioned on Supplier Spot, once they go and find which show they're interested in, they can click right here on Add to Calendar and put it on their Google or their iCalendar or 365 or Outlook. So it adds it right to their calendar. So really cool way of putting stuff on there to remind you. Oh yeah, that's right. I got the show coming up. I should probably register for it. And again, if they come back to Supplier Spot and click here, it'll take them right over to the glamping page where they can actually register. And this is for all the events. So if you know of any other events out there, Irene, or if anybody else is watching, let me know about it. I'm getting ready to create the page where they can actually add an event themselves, but I'll throw it on there too. If they didn't want to go through the work to do it, I'll do it myself. So yeah.
Cool. If they're on that page, how would they look up, say, Marshall and Sterling? Like, say they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go to the glamping show. I want to email Irene and see if we can make sure we connect." How would
Yeah.
they find us, and how can they message us?
Yeah, so that's the way Supplier Spot's is going to work. Let me bring it back up here. So as I mentioned, it's in the process right now because I have a lot of stuff back in coding that I'm having a developer help me out with. Because as I mentioned earlier, some park owners and suppliers will be able to actually have their own little store on here as well, and that's really what's taking up most of the time for coding. But that's because I want them to be able to click on there. There's a couple ways they can do it. There's going to be a search bar at the top of every page. So they could type in insurance here or Marshall and Sterling. But as I mentioned, you're not on there right now because I haven't released it to have people go on and start signing up. But once I click Marshall and Sterling, it'll pop right up here and say, hey, Marshall and Sterling is part of the insurance category. Or if you come up here to services and scroll down here, you'll see that there's actually an insurance category. So when you click on that, once everybody's on there, as I mentioned, once I get this all taken care of,
Mhm.
everybody will be listed here that does insurance for parks. So it's a very easy way to search and just make sure that people can find everybody quickly and easily. And then there'll be a little message request button or contact button or something like that on your little display on the page where it'll say, hey, contact Irene or contact Marshall and Sterling, and it'll send you over an email and they can talk to you that way. So that's how it's going to be set up. But as I mentioned, I'm working diligently with that developer. I got my other screen over here that I've been talking to him about, hey, do this, do that type stuff. So I'm excited for it when it's up and going completely 100%. But I just didn't want to have it sitting on a coming soon page because, I did build it on a different platform back when I launched it in March. And
Mhm.
just that platform does not give me the robust type system that I'm looking for. So that's why we've been working on it for like the last 8 weeks to try to really get it up and going. So
Okay.
long-winded answer to your question there, Irene.
So when will it be up?
That's kind of up in the air. So as I mentioned, and the reason a lot of it's because of my fault, because once we have it to a point where we think we're ready for everything to work, I make a few changes and ask him, hey, I really want to do this. So then he has to go back through and make some coding. So a lot of it's my fault, but I really want it to be a very easy, simple process. So as I mentioned, when they hit sign up here, as soon as you sign up, you choose the category you're going to be in, like Marshall and Sterling. You pick the category of insurance, and then it'll automatically throw you into that insurance category. So I'm hoping within the next couple weeks or so we're going to be fully functioning, but as of right now it's still a valuable resource where people can go to conferences and trade shows. They go to more info. As I mentioned, I got the Spotlight podcasts on here, so you'll be on here today, so I'll get that up on there. As you can see, I've done several already since the first one was May 28th. So I got them all on here, so you'll be right up here next. And so that's kind of my goal, is hopefully in the next couple of weeks it'll be fully functioning.
It seems like it would be really helpful for people. And I know that, we're all trying to save time. There's a lot of things I have to deal with. I love the peer-to-peer feature. So thanks for doing this, Bobby. I think it's super helpful for everybody. Yeah,
thanks, Irene. And thanks again for being on here. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day and setting up in your backyard there to have this really cool background. I can hear the birds and stuff. So it's awesome to, talk about the RV park and campground industry. And actually, it almost looks like you're at an RV park campground with those beautiful trees behind you. So thanks for being on.
There's probably one about a mile that way. So thanks for having me, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks everybody for watching. Again, if you need to get a hold of Marshall+Sterling, you can go to Supplier Spot once it's up fully functioning, or go to Marshall+Sterling.com. Irene will be happy to answer questions for you. So thanks again, Irene, and thanks for everybody for watching.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Supplier Spot Spotlight. Keep shining bright in the RV, park, and campground outdoor hospitality industry. Stay tuned for more illuminating conversations with industry experts. Until next time, enjoy the great outdoors.